Right, good evening, YouTube. We are now on season 2, episode 7 of the Steel Chair Sessions. As you can see tonight, I'm riding solo as the Fiend Fan 76 is unavailable. But as you can see on my right, I do have a guest. And for me, a very close friend. I met him last February at For the Love of Wrestling. Followed him for a good 2 years on social media. One of the best content creators you'll see out there at the moment. Derek, welcome, aka Irish Wrestle Talk.
How's
How
it
we doing,
going?
my friend?
I'm good, Tony, and you're very kind with that intro. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Well, I'd been following you, I reckon, for probably about a year before we bumped into each other in Manchester in February.
Yeah.
Obviously at the convention. And for me, you know, to meet someone like yourself was an absolute privilege because you are such a nice, chilled out, down to earth bloke. You know, you get on with anyone, you know.
I like to think so. Yeah, you're very kind once again. Yeah, look, I don't take things too seriously. I suppose, you know, probably when I was younger I might have taken, you know, but just kind of take things as they come. That's the best way to go about it. You know,
We
you
have to now
mentioned.
in this day and age, don't we? You know.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I do see some people at some of these events, and they're like they're going around like they're David Beckham or something, you know, and it's yeah, I don't have time for that. But
Yeah, no, I don't have time for that. You go as yourself. You act as yourself. You know, we're all there for the same thing at them conventions, aren't we? So,
definitely, yeah.
you know, and obviously this year was the first time that I had actually been to one of them.
Same as me, same as
You
me,
know,
and I wasn't disappointed.
neither was I, mate.
It was really, really good, and
Yeah, and we both come away with a lot of good bargains as well.
yes, yeah, we had some good fun going around those stalls, man.
Oh yes,
Picking
especially
up,
that Adrian Street T-shirt that I got for like £3.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely, and it's well worth, you know, for anyone that's even considering going, because like for me it was the first one I've been to. And I think was it the sixth one? Has it been running for 6 years or something?
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, but really,
because I
really
think they
good.
done it in Liverpool to start with, didn't they?
They did, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
And then moved it to Manchester to probably a bigger venue, really.
Bigger venue, closer to a more mainstream airport as well,
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
that's true.
So yeah, it probably makes more sense.
Yeah. And speaking of Adrian Street, this leads me into the first thing I want to talk about.
Hmm.
That video you posted the other day. Now,
Yeah,
I'm quite knowledgeable with things that have happened in the past,
yeah.
but I didn't have a clue about him and the Jimmy Savile thing.
Did you not?
No, I did not have a clue until I saw your video, and I was like, "Oh, that is very interesting, like to know that because
Yeah.
you know I didn't realize how much of a badass Adrian Street actually was."
Uh huh.
You know,
He was so far ahead of his time too. He was, you know, he was really flamboyant, and it was during a time, of course, when a lot of that was frowned upon, or you were classed as being a certain type if you were dressed
yes,
that way or you were acting that way, and society in general didn't really, you know, look too pleasingly on that type of thing. But he was one tough dude, and he gave Savile a right good spanking, I think, you know, in the ring. And he was interviewed then years later. I think it was after Jimmy Savile died, and he, you know, he didn't even know fully at the time. The rumors were always there
yeah.
around Savile. There was always rumblings, but he didn't know for sure. And he gave him a damn good hiding at the time. But I suppose he probably would have went. He probably would have killed him altogether, you know, if he had known.
Oh God, yeah, more than likely. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people would have done, to be fair. But yeah. So sometimes when I don't know something or I've not heard of it, pops up on your videos, I'm intrigued, and I end up sitting there watching the whole thing and then googling it afterwards and going,
go down a
looking
rabbit
at it and
hole.
thinking,
Yeah,
shit, yeah, Derek was right. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And, you know, and I thought my knowledge for that kind of era was like good, but yours is up there, man. Honestly.
Well, it's bits and pieces with me, Tony. Like you know, tidbits here and there, and bits that I pick up. Like I wouldn't have the encyclopedic knowledge that some guys have. Like you know, we mentioned off air there. You had Dan on a couple of weeks ago, and to me, his knowledge is unbelievable. You know,
Oh God, yeah.
I liken him to like Kenny Dalglish with football. Kenny Dalglish would sit and watch Hungarian league football or Bulgarian or something like that, like the most obscure. And Dan kind of gives off those vibes with the wrestling, that he'd sit and watch anything,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
everything. But
Well, I've told that man he's got a lot to answer for, because I've been watching a lot of Maple Leaf Pro lately as well.
Very good. Yeah.
And it is very good now. Scott Damore's like rejuvenated it.
That's it. Like there's so much out there. There's MLW, then you have in the US. There's, you know, there's some of the women's specific wrestling. There's so much more out there. We all tend to gravitate towards WWE, AEW, and then you have the tribalism amongst all those fans. But if you actually step back and you look at what else is there in terms of the indies, even in our own countries, like the indie promotions that we have, it's fabulous. Like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said on one of my previous episodes that I was a bit selfish growing up, even to sort of, you know, sort of 2 years ago, because I'd see all these posters dotted around thinking, oh, yes, you know, he's wrestling, but it's not what I know.
Yeah.
But ever since Ryan started the TDW company, went to their first show, Never Say Die, met some of the people there like Sullivan King, Richie, you know, the Pond Bros and whatnot, just to name a few. Oh, and Ryan Matthews.
Yeah.
Ever since then, I've just become absolutely obsessed with like the local indie stuff.
Yeah, and that's great.
You know? Like Johnny Royal, he wrestles for TDW, but he's become a very close pal of mine.
Okay.
And he also wrestles for another company down this way called EPWE.
Okay, yeah.
And he's basically got me there involved in kind of doing some like journalism stuff as well.
Brilliant.
For them. I mean, the first interviews that I'd done, I did mess up, but that was just nerves. And they all knew that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worrying about that.
First time ever.
Yeah. No, it is a skill, and it's something you develop over time. I mean, you could never be expected to just hit the ground running. I think with some of that, it can be intimidating, especially if you're talking to the likes of wrestlers or any of those personalities. It can be quite intimidating, you know. But, that's the only way you'll build it up, is a bit of practice over time and just exposing yourself to it, you know.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I choked on my drink.
No worries, man.
Oh, but yeah, so with the more bits I'm getting involved in, the more I'm kind of going more towards the indies over here.
Yeah.
You know, like again, I said to you off camera, like I'm going to CXW on Saturday next week with Dan and my son. And more than likely, half of Stally's community will be there as well.
Okay.
Because they tend to go to that show on like a regular as their local indie show.
Okay. Is that dude Stally, is he involved in that, or?
No. He just goes as a fan.
Okay.
So, but it's local to him as well by train. So, you know, everyone just meets up in the middle and then just goes off to the CXW shows, and then they go off and do their own thing after, I think. But it's my first deathmatch show that I've ever been to, or that I'm ever going to go to.
Yeah.
So, and you know, Nick Gage being there, we all know what that man can do in deathmatch wrestling. It's unparalleled what he does.
You don't get much deathmatch wrestling anymore, certainly not over this side of the Atlantic. You know, there's plenty in the US, you know, in different areas of the US. I know New York, they have some there too, and that, but it's look, it's a different time now, and I suppose maybe the wrestlers don't want to put themselves through it. It takes a certain type of a character to go into that. But yeah,
Yeah.
that should be a great experience, man.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, man. To be fair, it's going
Yeah.
to be good. It's going to be good.
I'll be
But
looking forward to seeing some footage or videos and of that.
I'll be taking a lot, because when I went onto the website to book my tickets, I looked at ringside and they were like £71, but you have to sign a waiver to sit ringside.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
of like, you know, the glass all shooting out at you, the bits of fluorescent tube going everywhere.
Definitely. Yeah.
And apparently there's a scaffold match next Saturday as well when I go.
Jesus.
So I don't know, but I'm standing room only. I am.
Brilliant.
I'm
That
staying
sounds
away
good.
from it, but as long as I can see it and have a good time, that's all I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, you'll see plenty. It's probably a small enough venue, is it?
It is, yeah. It's just like a little sort of kind of church hall, really.
Oh, then everywhere there won't be a bad seat in the house then.
No, exactly. So even if you're like on the balcony up top, you're still going to get a good view anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be good. But yeah, I was writing some bits down earlier because I kind of wanted to, again, like we said, talk about the Golden Era a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of a few bits popped in my head that people don't really talk about a lot because it's been spoke about too much in the past. First thing I want to talk about is for me, growing up, one of the greatest feuds that I can remember ever seeing on video. Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat.
Yes.
Where do we start with that? Because
still goes down as one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. And
by God, by far, Derek, you know, the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan.
Yeah.
As well, you know, 90-odd thousand people supposedly there that night.
Apparently so, yeah. So they say that. I think that number changes at times, and I think Hogan kind of hyped it up a little bit too. But that no longer exists, that arena either. Or the Silverdome.
No, it doesn't, does it? No more.
No. But that was a great time. Yes. I would have been very young even when that was taking place. So I wouldn't have seen that live. It would have been afterwards. But it's one of these things. And I heard even the Macho Man, like the way he used to map out a lot of his matches beforehand, which was something a lot of wrestlers didn't do at the time, strangely enough, where I think it's done a lot more now. But he was working on that, and I think he got on Ric Flair's nerves at times too when they ended up feuding at another stage. But he was such an intense character, Macho Man, and yeah, this was something obviously he really loved to do. Was just map out the match in detail, you know, himself and Ricky Steamboat. Sure, I don't think Ricky gets talked about even as much as he should either, you know, that kind of way.
He doesn't get the flowers that he deserves, does he, to be fair? You know, stealing a catchphrase from Dan, sorry, mate. But that's the only thing I could think of to say then is because, yeah, you know, and again, like other people say, you are only as good as your dance partner, you know?
Yeah.
And them two had so much like positive in-ring chemistry. I think that's what made that one of the greatest WrestleMania matches ever to go down in history.
Definitely. And if you go back, you know, the way we talk about, or people complain about some of the matches, they're not that long these days.
Yeah.
They're only like 6-8 minutes, and then you have all the ad breaks and you have this and that and the other. Some of those cards were stacked a little bit more, like they weren't over 2 nights, and the matches weren't actually as long as you think you remember. You know, when you go back and you look at them, some of them were only like, I think even when the Warrior and Hogan at WrestleMania 6, I think that was like 15 minutes or something along those lines.
Yeah, it wasn't that long at all, that match, was it?
No, there weren't anything crazy. You would get certain matches, yeah, that would go to 30 minutes, maybe more, but
yeah.
but yeah, I think some people get confused and they think, you know, oh, those matches were a lot longer than they actually were, but they packed a lot into them all the same, you know, and it was a different style of wrestling nearly at the time too. I know everything has evolved and a lot of the wrestlers nowadays are maybe better athletes, look after themselves a little bit better, but they have better contracts also. Guys back then, if you didn't wrestle, you didn't get paid, you know, so they had to do everything they could to continue wrestling every night.
Yeah, so they could get their wages or whatever. Yeah, no, I get that. I also think that a lot of people don't really talk about the whole situation as to where the match stemmed from as well. Because I mean, I saw a clip of it when I was a child, and I was like, I need to find the footage and watch it properly. With the ring bell situation on Ricky Steamboat's throat.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
one of the most dastardly things I've ever seen in my life for that generation of wrestling. You know, I mean, because obviously we didn't know about kayfabe and we didn't know all the ins and outs of it back then. So we was all sitting there as kids going, shit, he's really done him like bad.
Yeah. Yeah. We were, like I say, sometimes you could say you were naive or whatever, but kayfabe was protected so well back in the day. And I always give the kind of the example, Ted DiBiase, as the $1 Million Man, and he used to travel through the airports and all dressed as the $1 Million Man with Virgil beside him. He used to have wads of cash that were given to him by Vince McMahon to hand people, you know, the $20 bills or whatever.
Yeah.
He had to remain in character at all times, and it was to protect kayfabe, you know, and they all did it, and they were very, very serious about it, you know, too. It was a way of life for them. It was their livelihoods. Whereas now you get to see everything, don't you?
Yeah, this is the powers of social media and that, and it and whatnot. And you know, with WWE Unreal season 3 coming out in a couple of weeks and stuff like that, you know, kayfabe was dead years ago, wasn't it?
How do you feel about Unreal yourself? Like, what's your overall take on that?
See, I've sat and watched it, and I'm kind of one of these that will sit and watch it till I've watched the whole thing. But some of the things I just don't agree with. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, you know, you see the rivalry on screen, say between Charlotte and Becky, but then the camera goes backstage. One's in the gorilla position, the other one comes through. They're cuddling. They're like, "Oh, good match, well done. Are you hurt?" And it's like, that's completely fucked it for like all the children now growing up, because they're not going to believe any of it on TV now, I don't think.
Yeah. But like we know that was going on all along through the years. You know, you would have certain feuds where guys and ladies actually don't really like each other in reality, and that's fair enough. But you know, generally most of them get along, and they have to some degree, because you're putting your body and your health in the hands of somebody else, you know. But I mean, it's I think that maybe they add on a little bit for this Unreal. You know, it's scripted reality nearly, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
It's not fly on the wall as such. I think there's certain aspects of it where they're just buttering it on, you know, to make good TV.
Yeah, I understand that as well. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, like you say, they've got to make sure they're keeping each other safe as well as doing their job and making it look real and believable.
Yeah.
You know, to us fans, I mean, obviously we know what's what, and it gets too predictable for us these days. But obviously, back then, again, everything was made to look believable on TV.
Yeah.
You know, like, for instance, for me, I was probably about 13 or 14 when Damien supposedly got squashed by earthquake.
That's correct, yeah. And another, do you remember when the Macho Man again was bitten by Damien?
Cobra.
Yeah, or the Cobra, yeah. And when Hulk Hogan was taken out by the earthquake on the Brother Love show, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, in the barber
Barbershop
shop as
window.
well. Like
Yeah.
things like that. I can remember vividly, like sitting in the sitting room on the floor watching that, like, and my jaw just hitting the ground. Like
Yeah.
this is
But what was the other
insane.
one where they trapped Ultimate Warrior in a supposed airtight casket?
Yes, yeah,
And then when they opened it, there was all scratch marks all inside it.
that's right. Papa Shango then, and the Warrior. That was another one.
Yeah.
He placed the curse on him back
Good old
before
cold right.
Danhausen. Yeah. All they were good times. Jake the Snake getting blinded by Rick Martel and the arrogance and
The arrogance bottle, that was terrible, wasn't it?
yeah.
Terrible gimmick, but it worked for him.
It did. I loved Rick Martel and Tito Santana when they were Strike Force. I didn't particularly like Rick Martel as the model, but I think he was doing his job correctly. The fact that I didn't like him because he was playing the part, he was playing the heel, really well, and but yeah, Strike Force, that takes me back too. Like, I loved Tito Santana, and he's actually going to be out for the Love of Wrestling next year also.
I know, I can't wait for that. El Matador.
Yeah, fantastic. I think he went off and he was a PE teacher for a while after.
Yeah, I believe he was,
Yeah. But
so speaking of the Strike Force, I can't remember which one of them it was. I think it might have been Rick Martel, but I'm pretty sure he was in a tag team before Strike Force called the Can-Am Connection.
He was, yeah.
With Tom Zenk, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah. Again, another team that I watched through getting old videos from Blockbuster back in the day.
Yeah.
And watching them on there and like Wrestling Challenge and stuff. And I really don't know what to say about them because I thought they were going to work for a long time as a team.
Yeah.
Because of the chemistry they had. But how long was I growing up? Because it didn't last that long at all, did it?
It didn't last that long. And it was kind of one of these experiments too that just didn't work out. And you've seen that a lot, like with some of the tag teams through the years. There has to be this kind of chemistry. They have to just gel, and if that doesn't happen, then that's it. And Rick Martel had a brother that was a wrestler also, and they used to tag years ago back, in the Canadian territories and that kind of stuff. And his brother died quite young. He was his older brother, but he died at a young age. I can't remember whether it was a heart attack or something like that. But so there was two of them in it,
Wow. So could you have imagined the possibilities if his brother had survived and then they had become a tag team together?
That's it. If you had the Rougeaus and there's a lot of families, involved.
I forgot about them until a few weeks ago when you played their theme tune on one of your videos.
Fantastic.
And I was rolling up and I was just like, oh my God, I remember them.
Yeah.
Like, Jacques and Raymond Rougeau. And then he became the Mountie, didn't he?
Yeah, and Ray became, he was kind of a commentator or reporter backstage.
Backstage journalist sort of thing, wasn't he, for a while?
Yeah. He kind of retired. He was a bit older than Jacques, I think. And their dad was involved in wrestling too. And so it was a whole family affair. But like Canada alone, the wrestlers that have been produced, and Stu Hart's Dungeon, the amount of wrestling talent that came out of that place was insane.
If you looked at that list now, it'd be a who's who, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Like right up, the likes of Jericho and Test and all these guys came through there, And then you had Dynamite Kid, went over from the UK, and he was there, and they were all involved, and like even Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and they link. They link so much to other wrestlers and other wrestling families, and then the sisters, the Hart sisters, married into it, and
into the Smith family and whatnot, and then the Neidhart family as well joined, and you know, it's just all expanded. It's kind of just gone from there, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, crazy stuff.
But yeah, these are just kind of little things that popped in my head over the last few days.
Yeah.
So again, you know, go back to the first ever WrestleMania. You know, everyone always kind of talks about the mainstream matches like Wendy Richter, Leloni Kai. You know, then you had the main event, Hogan and Mr. T. Randy Orton's dad was ringside for Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff.
Yeah.
And, you know, Liberace was there and all that. But something I read a few weeks ago that was quite interesting. King Kong Bundy versus S.D. Jones.
Okay.
One of the worst squash matches in WrestleMania history for the first one. Not many people talk about it, but I think it was purely because S.D. Jones was really a nobody anyway. So this was just kind of put Bundy on the card, really.
Yeah.
It was more like a jobber match, wasn't it? And they said it was like 8.5 seconds long, but it ended up being like 21 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, exaggeration afterwards.
Yeah.
Like even 21 seconds is nothing to be, you know, to go on about either. But King Kong Bundy was one of these guys too that he crossed over. He was on a lot of TV shows and different things. I think he was married with children, and he was in a few other bits and pieces. I can't quite remember, but he was one of those types of characters as well that he just came across well on screen. You know, I thought anyway. But the story behind WrestleMania 1 is really interesting too, in the fact that Vince McMahon basically took every penny that he had, and a lot of other people's money as well, and pretty much bet the whole thing, you know, on this needs to work.
Yeah, he took that gamble, and obviously, you know, it paid off because we are where we are today. But he was a lucky man to be able to pull that off with every last dime that he had at the time.
Yeah. I don't think just anybody could have done it though. And I think the fact that, like we say, like Vince is what he is, and we know that now, but he had grown up around the industry to some extent. Like his dad, I know he only met his dad when he was like a teenager or a bit older, but he did learn a lot. He saw a lot from his dad, and even the fact of, you know, how his dad did his business dealings, and Vince ended up kind of swallowing up his competition and buying up the territories and all that kind of stuff. Like he wasn't simple, you know. It was still a massive gamble to take, but yeah, he was lucky in a way. Yeah, fantastic how it turned out, I guess.
Yeah, you know, Harry managed to get that first WrestleMania to be as good as it was for that product back then.
Yeah, yeah, and even get the likes of Mr. T and these guys involved. And Mr. T was already a massive star. Yeah,
just to name a few, you know.
Yeah.
Who else was there? Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali, yeah, major stars. Like, and I think they were sold a dream. Like Vince was a good salesman too, and they were sold this dream, and yeah, it turned out well.
Yeah, I think doing it at Madison Square Garden helped as well.
Massively. That is a serious arena,
you
man.
know, because that's the mecca of all sports entertainment in New York, isn't it? So
yeah, without a doubt.
One place I'd love to go to before I'm in a box.
Yeah, and I've been there, like, and it's everything you could, you know, dream it was going to be.
I can imagine.
It's not a huge place, but it's just such an iconic place, and where
it's just to go for that, isn't it? Like the nostalgia, and just to stand there and just reminisce of all the good matches you've seen come out of that arena.
And you think, like, when you look at it, it's Hogan, isn't it? You think of Hogan, like, I mean, it's synonymous. He is with the place. But yeah, wonderful arena.
Yeah. Well, there's one event that stands out for me that will always have a place in my heart for nostalgia for me. from Madison Square Garden, that's got to be WrestleMania 10.
Yeah.
I think one of the best WrestleManias for me growing up ever.
Yeah.
You know, the opening match was just fantastic display of technical ability from both brothers.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and
Definitely.
obviously, as we know, Owen got the victory, and I know you're a big Owen guy.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, we know he got the victory, which was well deserved. But then I still can't understand why they did what they did with Brett at the end of that when they give him the title instead of Owen.
Yeah. And yeah, it doesn't sit well with some people. That was a fabulous match, and it's one that's overlooked quite a bit too. I think
Massively.
as a lot of the two guys had they had a cage match at SummerSlam. Was it what to say SummerSlam '93?
I remember that cage match. Was it the same year?
No, SummerSlam '92 would have been Brett and Davey Boy, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, cool. So it would have been 93 or 94, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I always get mixed up in the years.
I remember that match though very clearly.
Yeah, but that's another one that doesn't really get spoken about that much. But they had a tremendous chemistry with each other, Owen and Brett. You know, because like they'd grown up, and I suppose as you know, there's so many brothers together, they were probably battering each other all the time.
Oh God, yeah, probably.
That kind of stuff, and I'd say they're very, very tough guys, like legitimate tough guys too. Do you know? But Owen seems to have been like I've never heard anybody say a bad word about Owen Hart. You know, he's one of these guys that there's never a bad word said, and even other wrestlers that have died young and everything, you'll hear something about them. But I've never heard a thing about him. But some people like to say, "Oh, would Owen be talked about as much if he hadn't died as young?" And one of the guys at the stall for the Love of Wrestling was saying that he was selling an autograph of Owen's. I think he was looking for like 400 quid, but he said, "Oh, controversial. I'm going to say this, but I don't think Owen would be spoken about as highly if he hadn't died as you know, as young or tragically the way he did." I just think he was fantastic. I think he was being punished in a way he turned down a big storyline just before, you know, they made him the Blue Blazer again. And I think Vince had pitched him a storyline where he was going to have an affair with Stephanie or something along those lines. And Owen was a real staunch family man, and he didn't want to do anything like that, you know.
Yeah, which you can understand.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to sit well with some people, but I think that's where all this came from. Then he was repackaged up again as the Blue Blazer, and you know, we still 34. That's all he was. Like, he was his peak. Do you know what I mean? He could have gone anywhere afterwards. Do you know? So
yeah, he could have done. I think one of the worst gimmicks that he had was when he was with Coco Beware. Was it High Energy?
High Energy, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
they had the MC Hammer pants on them.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy that. Didn't really enjoy that throwing at all. I just thought it was poor direction.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just obviously didn't know what to do even right then. Then they put him back with Jim Neidhart, didn't they? It's like the new foundation.
That's right. That didn't work either. No.
I think probably his best time was when he was the heel and he was with Jim Cornette and Yokozuna.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and he was like the whole Slammy Award winner and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. The whole King of Hearts stuff was amazing. And even then when you had Brett was a heel then in the US and a hero in Canada. And you had all the guys together. So you had Davey Boy Smith and the Anvil and the whole lot, and Brian Pillman. That was a fantastic time too.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they was like the Hart Foundation again as a collective whole with Bulldog. You know, and they was always feuding with like Legion of Doom and people like that, wouldn't they, all the time?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, when they were all back together, that was with DX. Then that was the you know.
That's right. Yeah.
Time too. Sunny Day, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
See, this is why I had you on, because I know I can talk old school stuff with you,
Some of it, man. Some of it, it gets lost on me, you know. And like I said to you there, some people say, "Oh, WrestleMania 10 or WrestleMania 11." It doesn't register with me sometimes. You know, if the year, sometimes it's the year more so than the
right, than the
WrestleMania.
actual event.
Different things like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
my mind works funny like that sometimes too. You know. And,
mine's the same. See, like obviously the first ever back then pay-per-view that I
mm,
watched was SummerSlam 90.
okay.
Um, and I still remember the main event to this day.
Yeah.
It was Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude inside a steel cage.
Yes, and that is where this was. Warrior had won the belt in Mania that year against Hogan.
Yep.
And the idea, of course, was for Warrior to pick up the baton and run with it, you know, become the new face of the
The company.
WWF.
Yep.
But it wasn't quite working out that way. And they had him back feuding with Ravishing Rick Rude. And that actually led to some of the really good vignettes and promos at the time with Ravishing Rick Rude working out. And it was similar to Rocky. He was
Oh
on the
yeah, it was
beach
brilliant, wasn't it?
and that was fantastic, man. And Bobby
Yeah.
Heenan as the hype man, hyping it all up. Um, and do you know Rude and the Warrior? Like Rude carried a lot of those feuds he had with the Ultimate Warrior. He was it wasn't easy to carry the Warrior or work with him. I don't believe, from everything I've heard. And but Rude was an amazing character. I loved him when I was growing up. And a huge guy. He didn't appear to be that big at the
No,
time.
he was.
He was a big dude, because do you remember when he
Yeah.
came back and he was in DX? He was one of the he was like a bodyguard type character.
Yeah. And
I think
still
that,
built like a brick shit house then.
yeah, and when you see them in a suit for some reason, they just look bigger, you know, they just
Yeah.
whatever way it is. But he had done his back, of course, and he cashed in his Lloyd's of London check. So he wasn't actually able to compete anymore at that stage. So he could only appear as one of these types of characters, and that's the way he did it. But um fantastic. Jeez, I love Rick Rude, yeah. But like you say, the SummerSlam 1990, yeah, that's cage match.
Yeah, that
Love
was
that.
so good. I still remember that.
Yeah.
Right. And then, obviously that then I think that then led up to kind of um the Warrior then feuding with Macho and then Slaughter.
Slaughter at Royal Rumble 91, wasn't it?
Yeah, Macho hit him with a scepter, did all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. And then obviously, that
That
led
led to
to
a retirement match.
their retirement match at WrestleMania 7,
Yeah.
which then led Slaughter to become the Iraqi turncoat
Sympathizer.
during that
Yeah.
war, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that storyline, because it was great for them to capitalize on it,
It was.
but it was the wrong time, I think, because it was actually going, proper through that war at the time, wasn't it?
Well, could you imagine them doing something like that now? I
Oh God,
couldn't.
no! They'd never get
No.
away with it, Derek.
No. For whatever reason, like I say, it's just we're living in a different time now,
Yeah,
and it just wouldn't fly
no,
anymore.
and they certainly wouldn't be allowed to have them spikes on the end of their boots either, or them
No,
curly bits.
no. Like if you had Israeli sympathizers now, could you just imagine? Jeez, like
God, Jesus Christ, mate, it'd be like World War 3, 4, and 5 all in one.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
TKO would never do that anyway, mate. We know that.
no, they couldn't. They couldn't do that, because some people just take things far too seriously as well, and they wouldn't be able to see the storyline aspect of it. And
No,
but it's just it wouldn't run anyway in any of these creative rooms for storylines. It just wouldn't fly.
no, definitely not. It wouldn't at all. What else did I write down here? Oh, WrestleMania 2 as well. Obviously, again, another one that I had to sort of rent out on
Yeah,
DVD back in the day, or video as we knew it then, VHS. 3 different venues for one WrestleMania. Like,
that didn't
obviously
really
it
work
was
out.
good at the time.
Yeah.
But
it didn't really work out
no,
as well as they wanted it to. No,
it didn't.
no.
You know, I mean, you've got, I think, I can't remember who was saying it the other day. It might have been, well, it might have been Dan on one of his previous episodes with Zach Conway. And they said, look, you know, you've got people paying all that money to go and watch WrestleMania 2, but they're going to one venue where they're probably going to get 3 matches for the whole night.
Yes.
And then they've got to watch the rest on a big screen. So, yeah, it was Zach, because he said, like, if that happened now, how ripped off would you actually feel?
Yeah, people did go mental. I'm sure you'd still get a certain crowd that would go and they'd lap it up. And there was a lot of people speculating, is that, you know, were they planning on doing like another WrestleMania at some stage similar to that? But I don't think it would really be
It
a
wouldn't work at all, would it?
big success. No.
No.
No, but they learned from that straight off anyway.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it anymore. And another WrestleMania for me was WrestleMania 4. Do you remember the tournament that they had?
You must have read my mind, because that was the next bit on my list.
Yeah.
Because I thought about that earlier myself, and I'm like, yeah, for me, obviously growing up watching that came in a double VHS box pack.
I had an aunt in London, and we couldn't get that stuff over here in Ireland for whatever reason. And I remember her sending it over to me, double VHS.
Yeah.
And I think it had some extras, some outcuts or something of backstage stuff going on with Bob Uecker and all these.
Yes.
Was amazing stuff. And I think I nearly burnt out those tapes, you know, watching that over and over again at the time.
Yeah, one of the best WrestleManias for me. Like,
yeah,
from sort of 1 to 10, that's probably maybe number 1 or number 2 on the list for me.
Yeah, and it was a full kind of tournament,
4.5 hours long. And back then, for a WrestleMania, that was a long time, 4.5 hours.
Massively, yeah.
You know, compared to what it is now, you know, it's 2 nights and it totals to like 8 or 9 hours of wrestling, maybe. Other than this year's one that was like 2.5 hours of Hulk Hogan, you know, 10 minutes of matches for night 1.
Yeah, definitely. And there was the tournament at the beginning of that, the Battle Royal. Bad News Brown. He won it, didn't he? Yeah.
Well, I think he eliminated Bret Hart last.
Bret Hart broke up they had the big trophy, and Bret Hart made bits of it.
He destroyed it, didn't he?
Yeah. And that was really cool. And then we had guys like in the you had the one man gang and all these different characters like in the tournament itself. And of course we know $1 Million Man and Macho Man. Then in the final, Hogan came out then to help out and so on as well. Miss Elizabeth went back and got him to come down.
Yeah. And then they had a year to start their storyline of breaking up the Mega Powers. Then the WrestleMania 5.
That's the Mega Powers was amazing. Like, and it's actually around that time when I started getting into wrestling. So I was watching the previous WrestleManias then afterwards, you know, that kind of way, just catching up. But it was coming up to WrestleMania 5 or in or around that time when I actually started getting into wrestling, you know, and like I said, I was still quite young, but like it was just a magical time to be alive, man.
It was, yeah, and back-to-back WrestleManias at the Trump Plaza as well.
Yes, indeed. I don't know, like WrestleMania has evolved so much, and you know, even now you have it's become a whole week-long thing. I think back in those days, it was probably just a weekend thing, you know, but they've just built on it now as time has moved on, and everybody goes for the week because you have all the indies have their events over the week. Then you have...
because normally you have either HOG or GCW, is it?
Yeah, you do, and Progress go over there and they do their
Progress as
thing.
well, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's Paul Walter Hauser. You know that guy. He's actually Progress champion in two. I think he's held it 2 years in a row. You know that guy. He's the actor.
Oh yeah. I know who you're on about. Yeah.
Yeah. Stingray from Cobra Kai. That guy.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, you have all that GCW hog, as you say. Then you have some of the other, like you have the mini wrestling. You know the guys, they're midget
Oh
wrestling.
God, yeah. The dwarfs.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So you have a bit of Mexican stuff. You have everything, and they all come in for the week. And then you have WrestleCon, and you have WWE World, which used to be Access back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's a real festival for a week wherever they have it. Now with Saudi, I'm just wondering how that's going to work. I know WrestleCon, they've said they're not going to go out there. They're not going to do an event out there. So all the other indie companies, will they all just do something themselves in the US instead? Will AEW put on something at the same time in the US instead?
Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? You know, they can be sly like that sometimes, can't they?
Yeah.
You know?
But I think, that it would be a great idea because there's a lot of people that are not going to go to Saudi. Look, we're not going to get into all the ins and outs of that, but there's a lot of people for many different reasons won't go out there. I certainly won't anyway. But I think if they had something going on instead, some other companies were putting things on, then there'd be a great chance of having something else where, some other kind of celebration.
Yeah, wouldn't catch me going out there either.
No, I've no interest at all.
No.
Not even the slightest bit. And I know, and I've even heard some of the guys on TikTok were telling me that the tickets are extremely cheap in Saudi. But that doesn't even tempt me in any way. I couldn't care less, to be honest,
But the Royal Rumble tickets in January were really cheap for Saudi.
Yeah, and it sells out quite quickly as well. But if you look at Night of Champions there recently, the lack of respect that the guys in the crowd have, even when the women are wrestling, like they're standing with their back.
I noticed that they were just all sitting there on their phones, chatting, turning their backs, and that. It's disgusting.
It is, yeah. But they look at women like dogs, like pieces of meat.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit.
But they're the ones that are dogs themselves, man, for treating the women like that. It's out of order. But we can't get into that too much because we'll get back to YouTube.
Exactly. We get cancelled.
We've got our opinions. We'll talk about them off camera.
Exactly.
So, I don't really know. Tuesday in Texas is another event that always sticks in my head.
Tuesday in Texas. Yeah. I can't remember exactly the card for that.
I don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I've spoke about it previous as well. One thing that always sticks out for me is obviously that was, I believe, the night when that stuff happened. It weren't the night the stuff happened, the Cobra and the bite, was it? That happened on a wrestling challenge, I believe. But Tuesday in Texas was the night when the Undertaker turned babyface.
Yeah.
Because Jake and Macho was having a bit of a scuffle, and then they come back through the curtain, and Jake went to do Elizabeth, and Undertaker smashed him around the head with a chair.
Yes.
And that's pretty much when he turned babyface. And that was like one of the main things, obviously being an Undertaker fan, that will always stick out for me is being the milestone of where he propelled himself after that.
Yeah.
Obviously he came into his first WrestleMania, destroyed Jimmy Snuka.
Destroyed him,
WrestleMania
yeah. Jimmy Snuka, another guy we could talk about. But anyway, that's...
Yeah, let's not talk about him, shall we?
Let's not go into those details. But no, I know what you mean. The Undertaker, isn't it crazy when you think, like we're talking about that, and where he turned babyface, and he had such a long career after that as well. Like,
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's like that gimmick should never have worked for so long if you think about it. But he kept reinventing himself. Yeah. And
yeah,
I don't know if you remember when he first appeared, he was Kane the Undertaker.
Yeah, that was the night before Survivor Series at a house show.
Yes, he was
Yeah,
Kane the
he had a
Undertaker.
mask on as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then funny enough, Kane came along later, but
Well, he came along 8 years later, didn't he?
yeah, it's got to be Kane. Yeah, but like it's unbelievable. Like it should never have worked for so long, but it's a credit to Calloway, and how he actually made it work, and he did the whole biker, badass kind of
Yeah.
Undertaker. So he switched back and forth. I remember then when he went missing for so long. I don't know if you remember the episodes where there was sightings of the Undertaker, and all this kind of stuff where he had
Yeah, I
gone
remember
missing
that.
for, yeah. All that, I can't remember what year that was now, but that would have been weekly on Wrestling Challenge or whatever the shows were at the time. But yeah, Jesus Christ, that's insane when you think about it.
Yeah. The longevity to maintain the character but keep changing it up through the years.
Yeah.
It's never going to be matched again, is it, ever?
No, I don't believe, like, you'll have I think he told the story as well where it was pitched to him about being the Undertaker, a dead man,
Yeah.
and everything, and he couldn't. Yeah, he found it a bit strange even at the time. And Paul Bearer, of course, played such a big part, Percy Pringle, in the whole that side of it and getting them
William
over.
Moody.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was unbelievable. What a career! And is he your top guy of all time?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so obviously, like I said, my first event was SummerSlam 90 that I ever watched, and I literally saw an advert for it on like Sky Movies at the time.
Yeah.
So sat and watched that, and then just got addicted from there. Needed to carry on watching it because then I saw this team come on, black gear, little silver studs, face paint, and I was like, they look the bollocks. Gonna watch them the following week. Obviously, Demolition.
Yeah.
They come out, and I was like, yeah, the music, the look, the way they were in the ring together, just that smash mouth style. Being a young kid and watching that, you're like, fuck me, these are the bollocks. And I just got addicted from there. And then I saw Undertaker obviously make his debut on the main show, Survivor Series. And from there on, man, never looked back.
Partner, yeah, of Ted DiBiase.
Never looked back, man. I mean, I don't know if I showed you at the convention, but if you can see that,
wow.
I'm going to try and step back a bit if I can.
So you have a tattoo of him?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm trying to show you. Lift my leg up. Look.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That is dedication, man. That's fantastic.
So, I know. Well, I should have stood on the chair really or something. You know what I mean?
Have you ever met him?
I wish, mate. I was going to, when we went to Money in the Bank in 2023, but I missed out on getting a ticket for the One Dead Man show.
Yeah.
I was gutted, but I've got a plan anyway for February, so it's fine.
You'll get there. You'll meet him yet,
Yeah. But I've got a tattoo on my chest that I'm going to get covered up.
Okay.
I'm going to get it covered up with all three of Demolition.
Oh, fantastic.
And then come February, I'm going to see if they can sign like the tattoo like on my chest and then just go straight to the tattooist there and get it done.
Wow. Well, they are the nicest guys, man. I met them last year. And I met the Powers of Pain this year, who are absolutely fantastic guys as well.
You lucky bastard, man. Warlord and Barbarian.
I'm extremely lucky, man, to be honest.
But, yeah.
But the Axe and Smash, and I was telling them, like, I showed them a picture of my son, and he was what was he, 7 at the time, and he was a fan of theirs, and like they found it like unbelievable, that there's still generations out there, young generations that are still kind of getting into Demolition and everything like that. And I mean, they even have their own podcast on the go, and they rightly so. I was there for their induction into the Hall of Fame this year as well, which was amazing. But they were fantastic, and probably, you know, it took so long for them to, and I know the Hall of Fame means fuck all for some things now, in fairness, but you know, they, if anyone deserved to be in it, they did. And I'm just delighted that they finally got in there. You know, they didn't get to do their speech because Stephanie, you know, they had to give a shortened speech because Stephanie took over the first hour of the show with
Doesn't
hers
surprise
induction.
me.
Yeah, but yeah, they're two really really good guys.
I'm still pissed though that they didn't induct Crush as well with them.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I was talking to the Warlord the following day. He was there with Barbarian about like, and he was talking about, you know, did I do well last night? Because you know, he was kind of worried. Did he do well? Like being up on stage and all this kind of stuff. He was, and I said you were like amazing. And I said, when are you guys going to go into the Hall of Fame? And they said, well, that's, you know, that's one of these mysteries as well. They don't know, but like,
Yeah, see, another team that get overlooked and overshadowed, man, because
yeah,
you know
yeah. And if
that,
you remember
that
when
kind
they
of
went,
period for the tag team division, I think was really good because you know you had the likes of your Demolition, your Powers of Pain, you had the Killer Bees,
yeah,
you know, you had the Bolsheviks, you had the Rockers, the Heart Foundation, you know, and the way that Mr. Fuji kept jumping between Demolition and Powers of Pain constantly was
yeah,
great for storyline back then because he was like,
it was.
what is he actually doing? Like last week he's managing Demolition, now this week he's turned his back on them and he's gone with the Powers of Pain.
But then you had Slick as well, and then
Oh
Slick was
mate, Slick and Arkeem and the Big Boss Man, they were called the Twin Towers, weren't they?
that is correct. Yes, and
Wow.
Akeem was a piss take as well.
Yeah,
Um,
because as a one-man gang, he was an animal.
yeah, but he was supposed to be from deepest, darkest Africa. You
Yeah.
know, Akeem, and it was a complete like piss take too. And but like there you go, the Twin Towers, the Big Boss Man. Jesus, what an amazing character, as well. Like, and like we said, Slick. Turn out the lights, the party's over. You know, he's the
Oh
big
yeah,
say,
brilliant.
yeah. Um,
He's so good, wasn't he, Slick?
yeah, and he like his even the theme song for Slick was amazing as well. Do you know? And
Yeah.
remember, was it Power and Glory? He had Hercules and Paul Roma as well.
Oh God, yeah.
They were his two boys, and
Till they
Hercules.
got squashed at WrestleMania 7 by Legion of Doom.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, there was some amazing the natural disasters. I love those guys as well, and they were
Yeah,
inducted first
Earthquake and
last year.
Typhoon. Yeah, I loved them. They were brilliant.
Yeah. Do you remember Colossal Connection then? Andre the Giant and Haku.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah,
Yeah, all
yeah,
part of the Bobby Heenan family.
mate. Yeah, Haku, just a natural born killer.
Just a beast.
Yeah,
An
in and
absolute
out the
beast.
ring, just a killer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody you hear telling the stories about him, he's just a really relaxed, easygoing, gentle guy until
till you piss him off.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a man you want on your side, not against you.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Haku absolutely loved him, and even when he went across to WCW and become Meng, he
Yes,
was still good for a little
WCW.
while over there. To be fair, he was just a out and out savage.
Yeah, and were you a big WCW fan? I know Dan is the man for WCW.
Danger WCW Mark, and he as he calls himself.
Yeah.
I wasn't a
Um,
massive fan. I didn't watch it religiously, but if I had the time and it was on the TV that night, then yes, I would watch it.
mm,
Um, I did go back and watch a lot of stuff when it was available on the network,
okay. Yeah.
but I wasn't. I mean, you know, I remember the things that Dan remembers, you know, like the Judy Bagwell on a pole match and Viagra on a pole match and shit like that.
Vince
Uh,
Russo stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and just the other day, Dan was talking to someone on his pod about the monster truck thing that they had on the top of the building with
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Show, well, Paul White and Hulk Hogan. You know, fuck Hulk Hogan, but there you go.
Yeah, but I'm I'm a little disappointed that Netflix, they have like the catalog, but they don't have much WCW, if anything at all, really.
Yeah,
That
I'm
you get.
disappointed with that. I mean, what's the other match I remember? It was Dustin Rhodes, and I can't remember who else it was, but they had a match like on the back of a moving 18-wheeler truck, and
Yeah,
like literally the pair of them got fired the next day.
yeah. It's like they used to go all out. I think WCW, um, for the shock factor. But it, yeah, I think it backfired a lot of the time. But like they struck gold with NWO
Oh,
because
100%.
I think they were going down the shitter at that stage,
Yeah.
even, and it prolonged them for a bit more, and Jesus, that was unbelievable. Like that changed the whole landscape of wrestling, like really.
Oh,
Um,
God, yeah. And obviously that's what started the Monday Night Wars, wasn't it?
yeah, pretty much.
You know?
But
And then 83 weeks or whatever it was, they destroyed WWE.
yeah, and then WWE just gobbled them up and bought them anyway. So
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, which is bollocks, but, that's how ruthless Vince McMahon was,
yeah, well, look, I
unfortunately.
mean, that's it. He saw an opportunity and he took it and ran with it. And in fairness, the whole invasion angle and everything like that worked out quite well, I think, and expanded the whole roster of WWE and maybe
Mm.
brought a lot of eyes onto some of those wrestlers that, you know, fans that hadn't been following WCW, like the likes of myself, I would have caught bits and pieces of it. But it opened up a door to a lot more wrestlers then that we got to enjoy.
Well, yeah, exactly that. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing an angle like that happen now, to be honest, just to
I think we're
freshen the
primed
product
for
up a
something
bit.
like that. Yeah, definitely.
Because obviously they've got their TNA connections and they've got their AAA connections.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I
they could
think
do some sort of angle involving TNA and AAA because Damian Priest has just gone down there, hasn't he?
he has. He has. Yeah.
I see the promo from him last week after Ray introduced him.
Yeah.
So if he's going to go AAA for a little while, does that mean like him and R-Truth are going to finally drop the tag belt soon?
I think they're going to have to, aren't they?
They've got
Because,
to, wouldn't they? I mean, R-Truth needs to just
or is
hang his
Truth
boots up
going to
now.
get another, like, a lot of people are saying Truth and Danhausen would be a cool tag team, maybe something like that. But Hausen is doing his own thing now with the Judgment Day and that. But yeah, it's a difficult. I think if Priest is going down there, then yeah, they're going to have to drop those belts anyway. But the way the tag team belts are treated nowadays, it doesn't really surprise me because there's no real prestige with them anymore like there was back in the day.
Yeah, there's just not any. I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for right now. It's not solid enough.
Yeah,
Like the division is just completely not solid enough. You'd like watch the tag team division in AEW,
mm,
and it is just miles above the WWE tag team division.
yeah. WWE don't really care about tag teams. I don't
They
believe.
just seem to care about right now the people that are making them the most money with merch.
Well, that's it. It's a business, and that's the way they look at it. It was probably always that way in some respects, but yeah, it's every penny they can drain out of people now. I think it's really, really gone that way. You can see it.
Yeah, hence why I boycott WWE shows now, and I'm using my money to go and see loads of little independent shows and stuff, and go to All In, and because the money I spend on one ticket to go and see Raw or SmackDown, I can
Yeah,
go and see 4 indie shows for that price
100%. Yeah,
and have just as much fun as what I would going to a 2-hour Raw show.
yeah, and WWE don't need your money. The indies do.
Exactly.
And
You know what I mean? Like All In, like I said, my ticket was 55 quid,
yeah,
and that show's 5 hours long.
oh, it will be at least. Yeah,
At least that, you know what I mean? And we know we're going to see Ospreay against Kenny Omega now in the main event,
yeah, and I'm looking
which
forward
I'm here for
to.
that because I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, that's going to be my first AEW event and first time
Same
in
as me,
Wembley
Derek, mate.
Stadium. Yeah,
Same as me. So it's going to be my first AEW event as well. So it'd be nice to meet up with you when we're there as well.
Definitely, and there's a few other indie shows on over that weekend, I believe.
Yeah, you've got Rev Pros on Saturday night, the 14th anniversary show.
Where's that taking place?
That's at the OVO at Wembley as well. That's at the indoor bit.
Okay.
That's the night before on Saturday, and then All In's Sunday.
Yeah.
Because I was going to try and go Rev Pro, but I've also got an EPWE show that night as well. So I don't know what time that finishes, if I'm going to have time to get to London or not.
Yes, of course. And will that Rev Pro show, will that go on late, Tony, on the Saturday night?
I don't know. I think doors open at 7, so I think it'll probably be done by about like 9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. I don't think I'm staying too far from Wembley Stadium anyway, because I would suspect on the Sunday you'd need to be getting over there early-ish anyway, to...
Mate, I'm going to be up so early on the Sunday morning to get the train into London and get to Wembley, because obviously I go into Tower Hill. So I go by the Tower of London, get the tube from there through to Wembley, and it's probably about 15, 20 stops.
Wow, I have no fucking clue, man, myself. Like, I'll manage, but
where are you flying into?
I am flying into, it's not Heathrow, it's what's the other one? Stansted. So I'll be getting, I think I can get a train from Stansted in, and I can't even remember the hotel or anything like that where I'm staying, but
yeah, you'll be able to get a train from Stansted into London.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty easy to get around then from there. But I was thinking they're probably going to have like meet and greets and things like that over the Saturday and the Sunday. I'd
imagine so, at some stage. But I've got to get merch and everything before I go. Or I'm just going to get there early on the Sunday and get my merch when I get there.
Because I was asking Dan, like, I would have thought London had some really good wrestling merch stores, but he was saying it's not that great, to be honest.
No, it's not, man. Not for wrestling merch.
Yeah, which is surprising.
You've got Fanatics in Oxford Street. They do like a few shirts, but their main thing is the Topps Chrome cards.
Pricey stuff.
And I think that's probably about it. Oh, and the PSG shop.
Yeah.
They've got a few little bits in there when they collaborated with them for the
Forbidden Planet, probably one or two items.
Yeah, Forbidden Planet have a few bits in there like figures and stuff, but other than that, there's not really a lot in London at all.
So we'll have to wait and see what AEW have then in their own place. But
we're sort of building up from there until then. I'll try and dig out a few little bits and pieces, or I'll send you a link when we come off of here for a website that Dan give me, and you can catch up on some AEW stuff on there.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I did subscribe to the My AEW, and there's a lot there, just for a trial, just to give it a go, on the YouTube channel. So
I think it might have been the first ever Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
The match that stood out for me was Kenny Omega and John Moxley.
Okay, well, Kenny Omega is fucking legendary anyway, and Moxley.
And I think it was a death match they was in, and like they ended up with this giant like platform of barbed wire on the floor. Wow. They both ended up going through it off the ramp.
Okay.
And like you could see the barbed wire being pulled out of Moxley's back.
Oh man, that's crazy stuff. Yeah.
It was like a spider's web of barbed wire, man. It was just mental. But I think that was from the first Double or Nothing, if I'm not mistaken.
But that's why, like, I think Moxley's probably done some of his finest work, hasn't he, since he's moved across to AEW from WWE?
It's because he's not PG enough for WWE. That's why. He couldn't get away with that shit he gets away with in AEW.
Yeah.
Over in WWE now.
I was only saying to some guys there before, WWE has new Shield merchandise in their store now.
I saw that earlier. Yeah, they've re-released the old Shield t-shirt.
I'm just wondering, but Moxley's still under contract. Like, I don't know what way his contract situation is, but he'd hardly rock up at SummerSlam, would he?
Be nice if he did though, just to see the culmination of the Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns feud.
That would be some pop.
Wouldn't it just, mate? They'd blow the roof off.
Yeah,
I think.
no, definitely.
100%, man. Right then, I've just noticed the time, Derek, man. We've been going 1 hour 10.
It's been great, man. I've enjoyed it.
It's been a good conversation, I must admit. Like I said off camera, I was nervous because it felt like you was going to be questioning me on my podcast because I was a little bit like, you know.
No, I find once you get into it, you're not too bad, you know.
It just flows nicely then, doesn't it? Because we both know what we're talking about.
Well, we do. I try anyway, but
yeah,
you know.
Well, mate, you've got as good as knowledge of what I have. So obviously, I dropped you a message earlier.
Yes.
We'll bring the show to an end in a second, but I gave you a couple of bits to think about.
Yeah.
So first of all, there was your tag team Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. So for me, it's the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
All right. And the reason behind that is a lot of people know the Legion of Doom as they were like with the Road Warriors, of course, before that, but they dominated territories. You know, all the territories before they were ever mainstream. They created the prototype for those monster type tag teams.
Yeah.
With the spikes, the face paint, and their intro was amazing. You know, what a rush, and the music, and then the Doomsday Device finisher was fucking outstanding as well. So,
oh god, yeah, one of the best finishes back then ever.
Yeah, it was, and it looked devastating as well.
Yeah.
You know, so they're on it, the Hardy Boys, and the reason for the Hardy Boys is they revolutionized what you'd come to expect from a tag team. I think they had the extreme element. Jeff had absolutely no respect for his body whatsoever. He was, you know, that was just amazing. And Matt was that little bit more technical. And I think they turned ladder matches into an art form as well. Now, they weren't the only ones, of course, to do that, but they played a big part in that.
Yeah, 100%.
And these are in no particular order, of course. The Hart Foundation, because like Bret Hart for me was always the top guy and my favorite of all time, and they were the gold standard of technical execution and power combined. Because you had Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who I think was undervalued in some ways too. You know, they could cut a great promo. I used to love when the Anvil went off on one. He was probably
his crazy laugh and giving it all that with his goatee beard.
Yeah, he was probably coked off his head as well. Who knows? But like he was,
they was all coked off their head anyway, weren't they?
Yeah. But even his laugh, and I remember, you know, trying to copy that as a young fella and all that kind of stuff. It was amazing. And they're possibly more of a faction, and we spoke of them there a few minutes ago. But the Shield, I think deserve to be there, and the impact those guys had and what they've all gone on to achieve afterwards, and they're still achieving, is immense. And I think when they burst on the scene and just what they did at that time back in 2012, 2013 was just unbelievable stuff, man. And yeah, they're the four.
Right, okay. So my four are obviously Demolition.
Yeah.
For reasons being that I said earlier. Wild Samoans.
Oh yeah. That's a great
Sneaker, you know. I mean, they were the pivotal people to put Samoan wrestlers on the map, really, wouldn't they?
Definitely.
You know, their style, the barefoot, and all that kind of stuff. It was just different than.
It was unique, yeah, at the time.
Yeah, sorry, that's the word. Yeah, unique. Thanks. I couldn't think of.
And they were very tough guys. Very, very tough, legitimate tough guys. Do you know what I mean? As well.
100% complete badasses for their era. And then I've got the Fabulous Freebirds.
Okay.
Even though we know that Michael Hayes is now an
PSAs and
absolute fucking bellend.
yeah, there were big feuds with the Von Erichs back in the day. Yeah,
Yeah, and obviously some of the greatest matches that they've ever had against the Von Erichs.
yeah, Von Erichs, amazing.
And then lastly for me, Brainbusters.
Aaron Anderson and Tully Blanchard. Yeah,
Managed by Bobby Heenan for a while when they was in WWE.
that's a great shout, man. Yeah, and they get overlooked as well. And to be honest, I probably overlooked them too there. You know, and like because Demolition, honorable mention for me also. But I think just between them and the Legion of Doom, because they were always compared, I think the Legion of Doom just like shades it on them. You know, so I'd pick 4 different types of, you know, teams that did something different for the wrestling industry. I think anyway. But
yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's what I tried to do as well, really. And then what was the last thing? Oh yeah, this was Dan's fault. He gave us this game to do a couple of weeks ago. So he basically said to us, if we could start our own NWO faction, who would be the first 3 people that you would have to start an NWO faction?
okay, yeah, I remember you sent this on, and I think with the NWO, it was such a cultural phenomenon. Do you know what I mean? It was more of an invasion, which we spoke about there a few minutes ago as well.
Yeah,
At the time, so to capture that properly, you'd certainly need one huge star to turn, because Hogan was the megastar and he turned at the time, and you know, someone that would break the internet maybe at this current time or send the IWC into meltdown. And there's really only one equivalent nowadays for that, and that's Cody Rhodes, I think. Anyway,
yeah, Cody Rhodes is a good shout.
you know, I don't think there's a bigger face at the minute that you could turn in that way and would have that effect. Then we had, of course, Scott Hall, the original. He was the ultimate cool guy.
Yeah.
So who would fit that bill? I was thinking about this, and I thought, you know, a lot of people mightn't think about. I think Kevin Owens. He's always had that kind of attitude. You know, been an outsider, but he'd be happy to wreck the establishment in some way, cause a bit of chaos. Good mic skills, and I think he could pull it off. So I'd go with Cody and Kevin Owens, and then
Good shout.
you need an enforcer type then, like Kevin Nash was. Giant physical dominance. You'd really have to have Oba there, I think.
Yeah, I thought you was going to say that. As soon as you said big physical presence, I was like, yeah, he's going to go over.
He's probably not as refined or as established as Nash was. But I think if you give it time, he'll get there. But
100%.
the only other person I could say maybe, apart from Oba, I think Trick Williams. You know,
Oh, that's a good shout. Yeah, because of the charisma.
Yeah. And he's just that big dominating type.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a really interesting question, and fair play to Dan, because I think no matter who you ask, they'll have lots of different answers and their reasoning around that too, you know.
Yeah. See, I went old school with mine.
Okay.
And my number 1 pick would be Vader.
Nice. Yes.
Purely for the sheer brutal physical presence.
Okay.
And what he brought to the table when he was in the ring.
Yeah.
You know,
Vader,
I mean, he was a big guy, but he could move like a cruiserweight sometimes.
Yeah, himself and Bam Bam, those guys, like proper big guys, but very nimble and agile.
Yeah. And then I'd have Nikolai Volkov.
Nikolai Volkov, yeah.
Again, another big powerhouse, but he was the breakaway star from the Bolsheviks.
Yes, he was. Boris Zukov was.
He proved that he could go it alone as well as in a tag team.
Yeah.
Obviously, Boris Zukov didn't really do much after they disbanded in WWE.
That's it.
And then for the proper enforcer, would have to be who I mentioned earlier, and that's Haku.
Wow. That's a good shout. Yeah, Haku. That is cool. I was trying to match it up with someone that would have the equivalence of Hogan in in modern day, which would be Cody and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
you looked at it in a different way than I looked at it. So that's interesting.
And again, this is what makes it great, because we've all got our own opinions and we've all got our own wrestlers that we would put in them factions, haven't we? So
Yeah,
and like you
definitely.
said, we're all looking at it in different ways as well. So I think that's quite a good way to end the podcast right now, to be fair, with what Dan's done there.
Okay. Thanks, Dan.
So it'll give us something to think about now.
Yeah, no, that's a good show. That's a great one to use and get everybody's input. Yeah.
Well, I think, Derek, you've broken the record, because we've been going 1 hour, 21 minutes nearly.
And it didn't feel like it, man. Do you know that? Because I just loved, that's why I got into doing all the content. I just love chatting wrestling with people,
Yeah. And that's why I enjoy it so much now as well. Because again, I've got to meet guys like yourself, like Dan, and everybody else from the IWC that I've met and had the privilege of talking to over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's helped me out a lot with the mental health. A lot.
Yeah, you just keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing a fine job, and don't, take the rough with the smooth and do all that kind of stuff. But you're doing fantastic, and keep it up.
And I appreciate you, Derek, man. You, my friend, are a friend for life now.
No worries.
And I very much appreciate you coming on this evening. But I'm going to let you go now, because you've obviously got stuff to do. You've got your children to look after.
We're all, yeah.
And I'm going to go off and eat my dinner in a minute.
Good man. Thanks a million, Tony.
Right, Derek, thank you very much, my friend. And I will see you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Right. Peace out, mate. Thank you.